Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of Worst Case Macchiato. And we're filming back to back, so there's not much of a difference in between last episode and this episode when it comes to news. But Madison is now eating lasagna, which is yummy, yummy, and it makes me
Just out me
hungry.
like that.
Yeah, well,
Just
I'm hungry now. So now I gotta go through this entire episode hungry.
listen, I waited till we finished the last episode before I went and got dinner. I waited and now this is not as hot as it should be, but it's still delicious. And I am gonna rub it in your face.
But now I gotta suffer in silence.
You could have got food.
No, because I don't have anything here that is quick enough to be able to make anything, and
So
I'm
you need to
very
do
low on
groceries.
food, so I'm stretching the little food I have until Friday. So
You're rationing.
I'm rationing, trying to get rid of the stuff I have.
Fair.
And I also
And who did it?
ordered this thing off of I don't know if Melissa's ever told you about Too Good To Go, the app.
No.
So there's this
I don't
app
know.
called
Maybe she has, but I don't know. I don't remember.
she's been telling a lot of people, but so it's called Too Good To Go, and it's an app where restaurants and grocery stores and stuff will literally have to go bags that are things expiring in the next couple days, or excess food at the end of the night, and somebody can buy a meal or a to go bag for $6,
Said
$5 or $6,
this
and
is
get
you said this is restaurants?
some restaurants, a lot of grocery stores.
Oh,
I
okay.
ordered one today, so and it's at 8 p.m. that I can go pick up around the corner from my house, pizza. So I get to get food at 8
Nice.
p.m. Yeah.
Nice.
But
But yeah, there's an app that I have. Um, I'm trying to see if I can see it. So I look at my apps and I'm like, I don't see it. Well, I might have deleted it now. I don't know. 'Cause I haven't used it in a hot minute. I've never actually used it, but I know people who have. And it used to be this app. I'm not seeing it on my phone. And I still have my Alberta bus stuff on here. Um, anyways, I can't find the app, but it was an app where grocery stores would post produce that was going bad and stuff and whatnot, and they would post it and be like box of produce. They'd label it like produce box number 1. They'd post pictures on it, and it would be 99 cents, and you could order it on the app and go pick it up in the store. So kind of like a similar concept, but it wasn't called. That's not the name of the app, but it was and it would show you your local stores what they had, and sometimes it was just products close to expiring. And they're and if it was, I want to say under 50 cents or 49 cents, the item was actually free because they couldn't charge if it was under a certain amount. They would have it as a set price, but then when you went to pick it up, it was free because they couldn't charge for under 49 cents an item or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one, when I got some, when I first moved in, I got a bakery bag and a produce bag, and in the bakery bag, I literally got a package of 4 pizza buns that are usually
Yeah.
$3.99, and the bag was $4.99. And they were just going, best before date was the day after,
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's basically the same concept, just that's not the name of it, but
But yeah, and then,
yeah.
with this one, you don't get to see what's in it. It just comes in a brown paper bag, so you don't know exactly what you're getting. So it's kind of like roulette.
Yeah, so
Like,
well, yeah, so some of them some stores will post pictures, but some don't. So it's sometimes you do know and sometimes you don't. Sometimes they'll just be labeled assorted veggie bag. So you know it's vegetables, but yeah.
mhm.
I can't think of
Yeah,
the name of that app, but
when I went to get mine from Metro, she looked, they had a couple bags left, and she looked at it. She's like, "Oh, one of these has pizza buns. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." So like she's
Yeah.
like, we're not supposed to tell you guys, but I don't care. And I was like, thank you,
But the thing
whoever.
is, like, it's honestly such a great concept so that people can get food for way cheaper if people can't afford to pay full price for foods. It's great for college students. And it's a great way that food isn't going to waste because they can't give it to the food bank because it's so close to being bad. And it's such a great concept. I love it.
Yeah, no, I love it. Like I haven't used it in a while. Um because like a lot of the things like you need to like when you get back to your car, you need to look in it to see what else you need because like to actually make things because like I had some like veggies and stuff that are actually like I need to throw them out because like I don't have anything to make them with. So
Yeah.
but like so I probably won't get like a fruit like a veggie bag ever again.
Yeah.
But I
No,
will
that's fair.
definitely get like baked goods and then these like the end of the night leftover stuff. Like I that's why I'm gonna do it tonight because I'm like hungry.
Hmm.
But anyway, we need to actually like we're already like we need to actually get into
Bro,
the recording.
so much, so
Um,
much editing to do.
my God, like so like so unhinged. So I guess I'm gonna go first. Um, as usual. So today I'm talking about a disappearance. Um, his name is Bryce Laspisa. He was born in Springfield, which is a suburb of Chicago, Illinois, on April 30th, 1994, to Mike and Karen Laspisa, and he was their only child. He graduated from Naperville Central High School in 2012, and shortly after, his parents retired, and they moved their entire family across the country to Laguna Niguel, which is a city in Orange County, California. So Ryan started his post-secondary studies at Sierra College, which is kind of like in Central California. Like it's not Southern California, but it's not Northern California. Like it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
With the aim to transfer to a 4-year university program. He started dating a fellow student named Kim during his first year. Um, and between his first and second year of college, Brian took an English class at a college local to his parents' house for extra credit before moving in with his friend Sean Dixon for his second year. Kim graduated a year prior, so she attended California State University, which apparently students call Chico State. Don't know why, couldn't tell you. Um, and then she had an apartment 90 miles away from Bryce, so they saw each other as much as they could, but it wasn't like every day like they were before. Um, in high school, Bryce's friends said that he didn't really drink or smoke much, even at parties. He would only have like a drink or two. But in his second year, Bryce's friends in California noted that Bryce's behavior completely changed. He was drinking a lot, beer turned into liquor, and he would drink copious amounts every day. And his friends, obviously, like if somebody like changes so drastically, like his friends kept trying to figure out if something was going on, but Bryce kept, I don't know why I put Brian, but Bryce kept brushing everything off and saying that he was fine and told him not to worry and that he was just blowing off steam before he had to start school again. But this behavior continued through the first week of classes, so his promise did not ring true. On August 27th, Kim thought that there was something else going on with Bryce, as the excessive smoking and drinking didn't stop, but she kept pushing why he was acting so differently. He kept denying that he was taking anything until finally he had admitted to taking Vyvanse, which is an amphetamine derivative. Derivative? That's definitely not
Yeah.
what that's supposed to say. Is it? I don't know. Anyway, it's
That sounds right.
I don't know. But anyway, so he took Vyvanse, which is actually used to treat ADHD or binge eating disorders, both of which he was not diagnosed with. But a lot of people use this, like, because it's a stimulant, so a lot of people use it when they want to stay awake all night to study. And some people take it as a party drug so they can stay awake all night and party all night long. So,
Flash food.
flash food, yeah. Um,
Okay.
so the misuse of Vyvanse can lead to a variety of symptoms, including but not limited to hallucinations, aggressive behavior, disorientation, restlessness, severe insomnia, weakness, and to the most extreme, it can cause death if taken too much. Into a full swing of a new semester, Bryce's behavior got even more erratic than it was in the summer. He had given away his personal things, including his Xbox, a pair of diamond earrings that his mom gave him that had sentimental value to her as well. So he started giving away all of his personal things to friends, and some people were strangers apparently.
Sorry, what year was this?
This was graduated in 2012, 2013. I think it was like 2014.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
look it up because I don't want to be wrong.
I just was like trying
It was
to.
2013.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was in 2013. So on the night of August 28th, Bryce ended up at Kim, his girlfriend's apartment. They argued, and Kim could tell that there was something going seriously wrong with Bryce. But he would not say anything other than he was just blowing off steam. He kept trying to leave her apartment, but she didn't think that he should be driving. So she took his keys away from him, trying to persuade him to stay and sleep for a few hours, hopefully to sleep off whatever he took. That he wouldn't say what it was. Bryce called his mom, told her what was going on, and told his mom to tell Kim that he was fine to drive and to give him his keys back. Karen had already received a call from Sean, who, this was the friend that Bryce was staying with. And Sean expressed his concern to Karen about Bryce's behavior, and so now that Kim was also concerned, she was even more concerned. Now
Yeah.
that it's a second friend that was, and like when your friend is the person to tell somebody, like, or to tell your parents that something's wrong with you, that's such a huge alarm bell for parents. Like, because like a lot of people aren't gonna rat out their friend to their parents. So like, now that it's happened twice, huge red alarm bells. So Bryce talked to both of his parents. I guess they were on speakerphone, whatever. And he said that he had just broken up with Kim, and now she wouldn't let him leave, and that he just wanted to go home. Bryce's mom said that she would take a flight out first thing in the morning so they could talk everything over, but Bryce told her not to, and that before she visited him, there were things that he had to talk to her about, so she held off on booking flights upon his request. Bryce's mom told Kim to give Bryce back his keys, and then he left Kim's apartment around 11:30 p.m. on the night of August 28th, 2013. Karen, his mom, woke up the next morning to a missed call from Bryce around 1 a.m. She assumed that he called her just to say that he'd gotten back to his apartment. And the phone record showed that he placed the call about an hour's drive away from his apartment, over 350 miles away from Kim's apartment, meaning he drove past his own apartment and his school, and he just kept driving to Southern California. Like, he just kept going. Yeah. So
Way
the
back.
Laspisas, yeah, and then so his parents received an automated message from their insurance company stating that there had been a request for roadside assistance on one of their vehicles around 9 a.m. And so this call came from, so Bryce's car or SUV, I think it's an SUV, is under his parents' name. So, like, even though it's like his car, it's under his parents' name and his parents' insurance. So, Bryce left his parents a voicemail the same day at 11 a.m. saying that he ran out of gas in Kern County and that he called roadside assistance, and so he had to charge $20 to their credit card for gas. He also stated that instead of going home for the night before, Bryce had driven south on the I-5 in the direction of his parents' house in Laguna Niguel. So that would explain why he drove past his own apartment, because Laguna Niguel was like kind of like, it's more southern than he is, but it's not like all the way down south where Los Angeles is. So the Laspisas were concerned, so they called the repair shop where Bryce had used their credit card to buy gas, and the call was answered by an employee named Christian, who responded to Bryce's call for roadside assistance and noted that he had met Bryce in the rest area in a place called Buttonwillow, which I think that's just the cutest name ever, Buttonwillow, California, at 9:30 a.m. to give him 3 gallons of gas. When Christian learned that his parents were trying to reach him and that they were concerned, he decided to go back to the rest area and check things out. Even though it had been 3 hours since he gave Bryce the gas, like, he still went, but he assumed that he would have been long gone because, in any other situation, that would be the case. But Christian shows up to the rest stop to find Bryce parked in the exact same spot that he was in 3 hours earlier. So he got gas, but he didn't move the car. He was sitting in his car in the driver's seat, and his head was just kind of like back like this, apparently. Like he was like leaning his head backwards. And so Christian talked to him and said that like his eyes, like he seemed fine, but his eyes were a little red. Obviously, because he would have been awake for like probably 24 hours at that point, at least. And so, but Christian said that Bryce seemed perfectly fine, but he told Bryce that his parents were worried about him, so Christian called Bryce's parents and handed Bryce the cell phone so he can talk to his mom. Karen got the phone call around 12:30 p.m. That's when Christian went and was with him at the rest stop. She picked it up, and when she heard,
Pause for a second.
yeah, mm-hmm.
I don't know why I like waved my arm like that. But anyways, who's Christian? Is that a brother
Christian
or a
is
friend?
no. So Christian is the guy that was working at a at a gas station, and so he was the one that received the call from Bryce that he needed roadside assistance because he ran out of gas.
Oh, so he was like the roadside assistance guy, attendant.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He went to Bryce around 9:30 in the morning and gave him gas, which he
Okay.
paid $20 for, and then Christian went back to the shop, and then Bryce's parents called, and then Christian went back out to see if if Bryce was still there or not, and he was.
Okay, cool. I just was like, for some reason I went over my head, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I just
sure.
wanted to know like who that guy was. I was like, wait, where are we going with this?
Yeah, no worries. So Karen got the call from Christian/Bryce around 12:30 p.m. She picked it up, and when she heard Bryce's voice, she was relieved because he sounded fine. He wasn't slurring his words. He didn't even sound tired. So it was just kind of like Bryce being Bryce, I guess. Karen's just like, Bryce, just get on the I-5, drive home, and I'll see you around 3 p.m. Because apparently, I guess it was a 3-hour drive from there. So around 3:30, Bryce still wasn't at his parents' house, so they tried calling him again with no answer. Thinking that he might have been stuck in traffic, she gave it a bit more time, apparently like half an hour to an hour, but she kept calling him with no answer, so she got worried that he got into an accident. Karen and Mike, which is his parents, called the Orange County Sheriff's Department and reported Bryce missing. The police pinged his phone and went to the location that had been pinged. He was still at the rest stop in Buttonwillow. And he's been sitting there for 6 hours. So he just literally went, after Christian checked on him, he went 8 miles up the road and just sat there. So like he moved from the rest stop so Christian wouldn't, like if Christian ever went back, he wouldn't be at that spot.
Yeah.
But he's still in Buttonwillow, just chilling for no reason.
Interesting.
Yeah, so then the police got to him in Buttonwillow, conducted a field sobriety test on Bryce, which he passed with no issues. And Bryce invited them to search his vehicle, where they found no evidence of any alcohol, drugs, weapons, nothing. So he was just some guy like on the side of the road, and they're like, what the hell's going on? The police called Karen and told her that they'd found Bryce in Buttonwillow, and he passed the sobriety test. Then they handed a phone to Bryce. Karen told him to grab something to eat and then get back on the interstate because it was time to come home. He agreed with her plan before hanging up. A few hours later, Christian drove by and saw Bryce parked near the I-5, and everything started all over again. So he's still hanging around the Buttonwillow area, like he's still on the side of the I-5. So Christian, and at this point, it's been like 12, 13 hours that he's just chilling in this town that he's reportedly, supposedly, allegedly never been to before. And he's just chilling there for no reason on the side of the road.
Sounds like a good time though.
Yeah, for sure. So then when Christian saw him still parked there, he called Karen again, told her that he was still in Buttonwillow. Karen talked to Bryce on the phone again, and again told him to drive home, and again Bryce agreed. He grabbed a can of pop from a nearby gas station, filled up his gas tank once again, and then got back on the interstate. Christian followed him for about 10 miles to make sure he was actually driving on the road and wasn't like swerving, wasn't getting off, wasn't pulling over, anything like that. And so he drove for about 10 miles and he's like, okay, he's going. And then Christian called Karen back to say that Bryce was finally leaving Buttonwillow. I don't know what time it was around that point. I think it was like 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m. at that point.
Yeah.
So Bryce called his parents again at 1:50 a.m. now being August 30th, 2 days since he left his girlfriend's house, he told his parents that he was still in Kern County. So he's still in the Buttonwillow area, but not like the same rest stop that he was. So literally, I guess he must have known that Christian was following him, and then when Christian left, he stopped again. He said that he got off the interstate because he was because he was tired or whatever. So he's back on the road now, but he wasn't exactly sure where he was, and that his GPS said that he would get to his parents' house around 3:30 in the morning. His parents said, "Do you see anything? Street names, landmarks?" And Bryce said that he couldn't see anything.
I mean, it's what, 1:30 in
And
the morning?
it's
And
1:15 in the
you're
morning.
and you're off an interstate, so it's probably like not a lot of street lights or like it'd be pretty
Yes.
dark, right?
Yeah, so then he called back at 2 a.m. to say he was too tired to keep driving, so he got off the interstate to sleep for a few hours before driving the rest of the way. He also agreed to call them the next morning before getting back on the road. After a restless night, of course, I can't imagine being in that position, Bryce's parents were woken up by their doorbell. They assumed it must have been Bryce, so they opened the door assuming it was going to be him, but in his place, they were greeted by a California Highway Patrol officer, and he had some news about Bryce. At 5:30 in the morning,
No.
a 911 call reported a 2003 beige Toyota Highlander had crashed 115 feet down a ravine. The car landed at the bottom of a 25-foot embankment at the Castaic Lake area, which is an unincorporated community in the Santa Clarita Valley in northern Los Angeles. The scene was examined. The back window of the SUV had been broken by an emergency tool, and there was a little bit of blood on the passenger seat, but it wasn't enough to suggest that anyone had been severely injured in the crash. The responding officer called the sheriff's office requesting for aid to search the area for any victims of the crash. The officers found Bryce's phone, his wallet, his laptop, and a duffel bag filled with his clothes. Bryce's phone, oddly, was found outside of the car, seemingly just dropped on the ground, rather than it being like thrown out of the vehicle naturally. Meaning that like you would assume that somebody like had a phone and then they just like dropped it because like it wasn't smashed. It wasn't like it almost looks like it was like placed on the ground. And then the duffel bag that they had found had been opened, appearing as if someone had gone through it but left it behind. The police noted that the track pattern left on the road, like on the interstate, led investigators to believe that the driver of the SUV sped up and never hit the brakes, meaning that it was seemingly intentional. So there was no like braking patterns as they were going off the edge into the ravine. An extensive search was conducted looking for Bryce that included sheriff's deputies, the Santa Clarita Valley Search and Rescue Team, K9 units, divers, officers on horseback, a patrol helicopter, a great range of different units to look for Bryce. So there wasn't like ever, not enough people looking for him. The search extended for approximately a week. The police checked local hotels and hospitals for reports of any man who matched Bryce's description, which unfortunately led nowhere. And I know you don't know what Bryce looks like. I'm gonna look up Bryce on my phone to see if I can
I'm
show you.
I'm looking up. I looked it
Okay.
up.
Yeah, like he is a very distinct looking guy. Like even though
Yeah.
he's like he has a very like normal athletic build, he has like bright red hair. Like it's very noticeable. Like if anyone looked like that at the hospital, like it's very specific. It's not a generic looking guy. So search efforts expanded to surrounding towns and cities on September 3rd, which is a few days after the crash, including the San Francisco Canyon, which cuts through the Sierra Pelona Mountains, and Los Angeles' National
Oh.
Forest. Due to the lack of evidence of foul play at the crash site, the police believe that Bryce could have been suicidal, and if he survived the crash, he may have walked into the wilderness, found an alternative way to die. That's what they suspected, because they can't, like, where is he? There was nothing to say that anyone was there. There was no stopping on the road before going off the cliff, so they have no idea what's going on. Karen and Mike, which is his parents, made a Facebook page which launched on September 1st, 2013 to get international attention on the search to find Bryce. The police searched his laptop and phone records, the information of which did not aid in the investigation. So there was no messages, emails, anything in his search history, like being like, oh, what's the best way to die, or anything like that. So they weren't sure, like, if he had any plans. It must have been all by, like, word of mouth or something, because, like, there was no records on any of his devices. And the police also sampled the blood on the passenger seat of the SUV, which was a positive identification for Bryce. So that blood was Bryce's. So he was, like, somehow he did bleed in the car, whether it was before the accident or not. It was his blood. On September
I
4th, a
mean,
burned.
going down a 25-foot like embankment is gonna cause probably some injuries that will likely result in bleeding.
Yeah, and but he wasn't there, and, like, didn't, like, there wasn't any other blood, like, in the car that they noted. Like, it was only just that specific spot, so it was kind of weird.
Sorry,
Um,
what was like the specific spot in there that it was on?
it was on the passenger seat of the SUV. It wasn't even
Weird,
on the
but I
driver's
mean,
side or the steering wheel or anything like
it
that.
could
It wasn't anywhere else.
it could be like he cut himself while the vehicle was rolling down the embankment and it kind of slashed onto the
Yeah,
passenger seat.
yeah.
Maybe like
It's
it's okay.
it's unknown what exactly happened.
Yeah.
And there's still no answer for that.
And I mean,
On
like, that could
September
have been, like, way before this happened, too, right? Like, this could have been, like, oh, he had a paper cut and he was reaching over for Band-Aids or whatever, right? Like, did it
could have
say,
been
like, how
earlier that
much blood
day.
or was it, yeah, did it say, like, how much
It,
blood or was it, like, a lot or a little?
it they said it wasn't enough to think that anybody was substantially injured.
Okay,
So it
so it's
wasn't
probably,
a
like, very
lot,
minimal.
but it wasn't like a drop, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it was enough but not a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Um so on September 4th, a burned body was found close to Lake Hughes Road near Castaic Lake. Investigators immediately knew it could have been Bryce, but by the time the firefighters put out the flames, the body was burned too badly to determine the age or race of the victim. So everybody involved, including the Laspisas, had to wait until a forensic analysis had been concluded. In the meantime, the search for Bryce continued on September 5th. The officers on horseback scoured the remote area and the rough terrain. Bryce's clothes from the duffel bag helped tracking dogs pick up his scent. From the crash site, it seemed as Bryce walked away from the crash towards a truck stop, possibly to get help, but from there he kind of just disappears. They don't know if he got in a truck. They don't know if like what exactly happened, but
So was there not, like, cameras at the truck stop? If canines, like, tracked his scent back to, like, a truck stop, you would think that there would be, like, video footage of him at the truck stop or
not that I
something.
saw, but even like on the interstate there was only like I think they said there was only like one or two cameras that saw him the last moment that he's before the cliff, and it doesn't actually even show him going off the cliff into the embankment.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
like,
like, there's not a lot of, like, cameras on, like, those kind of things, but usually, like, truck stops have, like, a bunch of cameras, usually.
yeah, I didn't see any mention of any him on any cameras, so
Okay.
I don't think there was any at this one. And
Okay, fair enough.
even if he could have went on the outside of it. He never even went inside. I have no idea.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just thinking, like, if they caught a glimpse of, maybe him jumping into a truck or whatever, might give them a little bit more of a lead. Especially because, like,
yeah,
his
they
trail goes cold at the truck stop, does it not?
Yeah, so I would assume he got
Okay.
picked up by somebody.
Yeah,
That's what I would assume.
yeah,
Um,
for sure. That's what
so
it seems like, anyways.
yeah, so they finally got news on September 17th about the burned body that was found near Stake Lake, and it was identified, but it wasn't Bryce. It was 35-year-old Lamondre Miles, who had been shot and killed, which is a completely independent murder from Bryce's case, said investigators. On September 18th, the search for Bryce was officially called off. Which I also like. I'm gonna go back to that later, but like I wasn't thinking about when I wrote the notes, but that's an interesting thought. On September 18th, the search for Bryce was officially called off after 3 weeks of searching with no trace of him, other than the truck stop. The Laspizas gave out free wristbands that promoted their Facebook page, and everyone continued to post on social media. And they're like orange bands. Um, And like I think they have like a QR code or like the actual link to their website or whatever on the wristbands. But it might just say like where is Bryce or whatever, but I can't remember exactly. I just know that they're like an orange or red color. So Bryce's ex-girlfriend Kim played a huge part in search efforts, and she worked very closely with the Laspisa family, seeing as she was the last person in their like immediate circle to see him alive. And she noted that she will never stop searching for him, and that was kind of the last she ever said or anything about him. Vigils were held at Sierra College as well as in Castaic Lake and in Naperville, Illinois, which was his hometown, which helped keep his case in the media. And for months, volunteers continued to hike along remote trails and put up as many flyers as they could, called shelters, hospitals, anywhere Bryce may have gone. Karen and Mike hired a private investigator, and in 2015 they went to Castaic Lake where they hired a sonar boat to search the water, and their private investigator arranged for a drone operator to search a specific area near the main road. After 2 days of searching, they found no signs of any human remains. In 2016, the ID Discovery Show, which this is one of my favorite shows of all time, I love watching it, featured Bryce's case, which brought nationwide exposure to his disappearance that resulted in many new leads that unfortunately led nowhere. And so there have been multiple theories online, especially on Reddit, about what happened with Bryce, leading up to the day of his disappearance.
Yeah.
Many theories, many theories, I should say, include that Bryce could have been experiencing an onset of mental health disorders such as schizophrenia, and like schizophrenia does normally like present in like their onsets usually late teens, early 20s for men, which would explain his delusional
That's me.
thinking, losing his touch with reality. He didn't have like disorganized speech or anything, but like his disorganized behavior, and it could explain self harm as well. But people are skeptical about this theory because his parents and friends never mentioned any symptoms or behavioral issues that could have been key indicators of him having a mental illness other than the excessive drinking. And many people have theorized that the Laspisas actually know more than they let on, and that there could have been behavioral issues that they just never mentioned, trying to keep like the image of their family kind of more ameliorated and not like put any negative light onto themselves. But that is all alleged. You can't say that somebody knows more than they don't without being any proof. But that is just what some people have been saying. Another theory is that he could have been suffering from amnesia resulting the crash that resulted in him walking off the crash site, not knowing where he was, who he is, and where he's from. But that doesn't explain his behavior before the crash. Like there was a drastic change in like him wanting to sell and give away his things, him not wanting to go home, him on a dime breaking up with his girlfriend even though they were supposedly in a good relationship prior to that, and just like all these like drastic changes in behavior just doesn't make sense. And also with amnesia, it's also highly unlikely that he would have been able to walk in a direct path to the truck stop, which is like apparently an hour walk away from the crash site. So like seeing as if he walked for an hour in any other direction, he would have ended up in the middle of nowhere. Like what are the odds that like if he had amnesia that he would be able to walk in a straight line to this truck stop?
Yeah,
Like
that's weird.
it would be like 1 in a million. So like it seems super unlikely to me that it would be amnesia. Um, and then obviously a common theory is that Bryce wanted to disappear. Maybe he wanted to simply run away from his current life, start all over. Felt like he had to make a huge crash to have law enforcement stop looking. Now we're getting into the Reddit stuff. So people on Reddit, especially since they're like anonymous accounts, people do not hold back. One of the Reddit users noted that there were issues between Bryce and his family, and that Bryce and his mother had a largely codependent relationship in the years leading up to the disappearance. And the user goes on to call Karen a psycho and says that Mike has anger issues and he would yell at Bryce constantly about issues that seem to be minor. And this user also noted that he actually drank a lot more in high school than people reported, especially the Laspisas, because apparently, according to this user, he would often go to school highly intoxicated and as on his way to becoming a teenage alcoholic. And I forget which YouTube video I was watching. It wasn't like during my research or anything, but so I remember somebody saying that they believe that this could have been Bryce posting on Reddit saying that, oh, like he was actually like there was a lot of issues and stuff like that, just like it could like you don't like it could have been him. And like if all of his friends from Chicago that said that he didn't really drink a lot in high school, and then this person's all of a sudden like saying that he actually drank a lot, he was like intoxicated every day, I feel like it had to be like a close friend or Bryce for that to
Yeah.
like make sense if it was true. um but again, like Karen and Mike like being angry at him all the time, being psychotic, whatever, like that is all alleged. Like there's no police reports to back it up. There's no witnesses to back this up. This is literally just a Reddit user that could just be stirring things up for no reason. You have
Yeah.
no idea.
That's the one thing with Reddit, like you can't really trust anything on the internet.
Yeah, so like that's the thing, right? And then it also was noted by another Reddit user that Bryce's parents chose a school for him and that he had no choice in where he was to go for post-secondary. The user also noted that part of how they chose the school was the availability of dormitories because apparently they wanted him out of the house ASAP, which I don't know if that's true. Um, but somebody also noted that everything that Bryce had was given to him by his parents. So like he didn't actually ever purchase anything. Nothing was actually his own. So his parents, it was his parents' car that he crashed, right? Like it
Yeah.
wasn't his. The Xbox he gave away wasn't actually his. His parents bought it for him. The earrings that he had was a gift from his mom and stuff like that. So people think that it's very possible that like he wanted to cut ties with his family and he's like, I'm so sick and tired of like everything that I have isn't mine, and it's kind of like throwing it in their face that like he's getting rid of all of their stuff. And like I was watching Kendall Ray and her husband Josh is like the Mile Higher group in their podcast and everything. Like they said that they believe that he literally was doing like a final FU by also crashing their car on the day that he disappeared, and he could have just walked away and from it and just been like that was the last FU, like I'm done.
Yeah.
They also noted that like he could have been driving to his parents' house to tell him that like he was dropping out of school or that he wanted to move elsewhere, but then chickened out, hence why he kept delaying going home.
It
And
also
then
makes sense.
yeah, and also a couple weeks after he went missing, the police changed his status from missing to voluntarily missing. So
Okay.
um Kendall and Josh also threw out the possibility that the police could have encountered him in the area, and then they respected his request for silence, to say that like this was the outcome of their search, like that he wants to be gone and he wants to be missing, and that's why they could have changed it to voluntarily missing. Um, whatever.
Yeah, because I mean, like,
But
it's same with like because of his age, like, he's an adult, like, there's nothing that police can do to like make him go home or anything, right? Like, there's a lot of people that go missing. Like, there was a couple from here, like where I live, and they went missing, and the mom was like super upset about it, and she figures that they had headed out to Alberta, and they had not had contact with her daughter. She's like, it's unusual for that, like both of them, like they're both great kids, like blah blah blah. She's going on about it. And she'll still like post on Facebook randomly saying like they left like 3 years ago. I haven't heard from them. Like they're still missing, like, you know, and they actually like were located fairly quickly. Like I want to say within a couple months they were located by police, but they literally were like, no, like we're adults, like you don't like we don't want them to know where we are, like we're fine, like you can tell them that we're fine. And the mom wasn't accepting that, but it was just like there's nothing more the police can do. Like at the time of their disappearance, I want to say they were like 20 or 21, so like they're old enough to make those decisions. Um, and she actually recently came home like a couple months ago, I think it was. She actually returned here. So that was the first time that she's actually like seen her parents since everything, but her mom was still posting that she was missing even though a few months after she disappeared, her like police were like, they're okay, they're fine, they're safe. They just don't want to have contact, and that's their choice, and that's their right, and we can't tell you where they are because it's their decision. So,
Yeah, like I don't know everything that's going on with the police, but another thing from Reddit that I just want to say is that people were also saying on Reddit that Bryce was actually being, like, in his first year, he was actually kicked out of the dorms because of his excessive partying. So that so like he didn't tell his parents. So when he was going for his second year, he wasn't actually in school anymore because he was kind of like kicked out or whatever. But there's no like, I feel like that would have been corroborated by the police. The police would have known that, and like they would
mhm.
have put it into their theories when they released it, but they didn't. So I don't like, I find that highly unlikely. I think that he went into something he didn't want to do and he wanted to leave and he felt like he couldn't. Like that's just my opinion. I also find that it's very ironic, which is when I was reading the notes again, I didn't clue in the first time. But when the burned body was discovered to be a 35-year-old guy that had been shot and killed, and hit, they said the murder was independent for Bryce's case, I almost feel like it might not be. Like I think that maybe like it was almost like acting as a cover up because like he was like he obviously was in kind of like the drug world. Maybe this guy was also like owed a debt or something, or like someone who just needed to die in the drug world. I don't know how the drug world works.
Yeah,
Um, I only know what I know from like Breaking Bad and Narcos, you know? Um, but like this guy, they could have shot and killed him and burned him, maybe thinking that they will not be able to fully identify who it is, and this person could be seen as Bryce. And it could have been a clean break, you know? Like that's also very possible. Like we have no idea on knowing. And as far as like I know, I didn't really look into this guy or this person, like yeah, this guy. But like, if what if his case? I don't know if his case was ever solved or not. Um, but like, it could have been seen as a distraction. On hopefully they would misidentify it as being Bryce. Um, but so his disappearance was literally only like his. I guess it was 10-year anniversary just last month, and since he disappeared, there's been no sightings of Bryce reportedly. He is described as 5'11", was 170 pounds at the time of his disappearance. He has natural red hair and blue eyes, which he easily could have changed his hair color by now if he wanted to be gone, and he had a muscular build at the time. He also has both of his ears pierced, has multiple tattoos. Notably, he has a tattoo of a Taurus bullhead and his birthday and Roman numerals on his left shoulder, and he has other tattoos also including scripted letters K and M for his parents, Kern and Mike. And he was last seen wearing white cargo shorts, a blue and white checkered shirt, and a red and white Nike shoes, which at this point, if he's alive, he's not going to be wearing that. And if he was wearing it and his body is still out there somewhere, like his body will be disintegrated, but those clothes wouldn't be, I guess. Um,
yeah,
so I just wanted to just throw that at the end just in case um, people have seen anybody with this Taurus bull. I find that especially like the Taurus bullhead, um, and like the tattoos of K and M, which I mean the K and M could easily be hidden now if they he wanted to disappear, but just in case anybody has.
yeah. I was looking up pictures of him, and like his tattoo is pretty distinct,
Yeah, like
and it's not
it.
small. Like it's massive. Like it's
Like it is. He's very distinct. Like he's a very distinct looking individual. Like I swear a couple of my guys from high school, like a couple of guys from my high school looked like this, just not with the bright red hair. But like with the red hair plus the tattoo that covers literally from the top of the shoulder all the way to the bottom of a short sleeve that guys usually wear. Like
yeah. Like
I
it's
guess
literally
not
like
like sleeve.
it's almost like a quarter sleeve, like just shy of a half sleeve tattoo from
Yeah,
shoulder
it's
to
like
like
it's like
midway.
half of his bicep. Like that is a large tattoo of a bullhead. That would be so difficult to cover if you were ever trying to cover that. And it's thick, harsh lines. Like so like he's still out there. If he's still out there, if he doesn't want to be found, like it is what it is, but like I think that if the police did find him and they respected his want to be disappeared, like they should have said like he's not missing, he's voluntarily going on his own, just so people don't think that he is like not knowing who he is, because it's very likely that if he did have amnesia, let's just say, the 1 in a million did occur where he went to the truck stop, he could
Hmm.
have no idea who he is. He could maybe be in a hospital somewhere, because like if you don't know who you are, you can't be left on your own because you don't understand what's going on. And like nobody knows. Maybe he got picked up, and like it's not just girls that get forced into sex trafficking rings. Like you have no idea. Like
Yeah.
he could be anywhere. He could be doing anything. He could be past. He could be alive. Um, but every time I read about this case, like it just like it's one of those cases that just like sticks with you forever, because like the first time I heard it, like I was just so blown away, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
I've honestly never heard of this case, so like it's like
And it's more
mind-boggling. Like,
recent too, so like
hmm. Also, sorry, I just reading a thing and it says this is like somebody's post from October 18th of 2021. It says last year a guy with the same exact tattoo and same description, but seemed to be closer to 6 feet, was seen within 2 miles of my house in Columbia, Tennessee. So that would have been like possible sighting of him in 2020. Said it
yeah,
was
and like
literally the same description and stuff.
but someone just like, oh well, like, he was closer to 6 foot. Okay, that's an inch. Like 5'11" is what he's recorded as, and like
Yeah,
6 foot that's only an inch. Like that's like
yeah,
nothing. That could have been him. But if he's doing his own thing, he's walking the world
yeah.
doing whatever,
Like,
then
I'm, yeah, like I'm just gonna read it. It says like she's like walking down a road. It says TOMJ Hitch. Anyways, in Columbia, Tennessee, I didn't have any idea who the guy was, and I pulled over to on the side of the road and asked if he needed a ride. He had a big black duffel bag over his right shoulder, and I thought it was super weird that he would not want a ride, but continued to walk with that big bag that looked like it was full of clothes. It says I couldn't help but think that he had beautiful white teeth, and his demeanor was more along the lines as relaxed, chill, and just walking on the road. The reason this is very odd is that I've never seen anyone walk down Tom J. Hitch because everyone from here would never walk on that road because it's the most dangerous road in my hometown. I've never seen him after that, and this Netflix series of missing people came on, and I could not believe the resemblance. I have never seen him again and posted it on the Find Bryce Facebook page. The man I encountered was very calm and relaxed and seemed like he was going somewhere and didn't want anyone to know, so I let him be. I hope you find him, and seeing that guy walk on Tom J. Hitch walking with a big black bag was very odd because I've never seen anyone walk on that road in my 38 years living here. Not saying it has not happened before, but I've just never seen it. That's crazy.
yeah, it just like makes you just like what the heck happened? Like I'm like if this guy wanted to disappear, I don't blame him for not wanting to get into another person's vehicle. So like I could see that
Yeah,
being the
for
case of if
sure.
that was him, like he doesn't want to get into a vehicle, and maybe that person does recognize him. Maybe if he's talking and like they ask him about like where he's from and stuff and he doesn't have an answer, they're gonna be really weirded out and call the police. Like so it's like but like it would make if he was calm and he was just like normal, it could also be he was like maybe he's just been house hopping. Maybe he's just like
Yeah,
homeless and going from town to town, like, and he's just squatting and stuff because he feels like there's no other way that he can live like a normal life. I hope for everyone's sake that he is alive out there. Um, maybe that was him, maybe it wasn't, but I just hope that he's fine and he's not, in danger or anything, and he's just doing what he wants to do on his own free will.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But thank you everybody for listening to episode 10. Hopefully you guys can like get the word out there. Give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. You can also follow us on YouTube at Worst Case Macchiato. Or you can even follow us on Instagram at Worst Case Macchiato. Or email us at worstcasemacchiato@gmail.com if you want to tell us anything, suggest any cases or anything like that. And that's everything for this episode, so we'll see you in the next one. Bye!